Hello and welcome. This is Theresa and welcome to my channel. If you're new to my channel, I typically do live videos, and when I'm traveling I do more shorts, and when I'm busy with work I do less videos altogether. And I often forget to turn my volume off on my computer before I get started. With a Theresa Conway-Hayes video, there's got to be some snafu going on at some point, or it wouldn't be one of my videos. So welcome to What's on My Desk. Today I'm tearing apart a book, and I just thought I'd turn the camera on and show the boring process of me tearing apart a book. This is a Messages and Papers of the Presidents, Volume 6, 1861 to 1869 book that I picked up at, I think it was like an on-the-road market type thing in Maryland when we went back east for our cross-country trip. But I really liked the cover. So today I was looking at it, I thought, I need to get those pages out of there so I can use that cover for a journal, because I love this marbling. And this book is, so I will retain these end pages for any future journal that I'm going to do. This book is copyright 1897. I love working with stuff like that. This book is from the 1800s. Really? So I just pulled the signatures. Okay, I pulled the folios out. So what happens is I go and I look for thread that I can cut, and then I start pulling the folios out of a signature. So each signature is sewn in with thread. Here we go. Here's a signature. So I'm going to cut this thread and we'll see how many folios I get out. And you may be saying, what is a folio and what is a signature? As I pull this out from the signature, this is a folio. So when it's in the book, you would say page 449, page 450, and then this would be page 463 and page 464. So a folio is one piece of paper that's 8.5 by 11 or whatever, folded in half. And then let's start taking these out, and then we'll talk about what a signature is. So this was from a previous signature, so I'm going to lay that to the other side. More about me. I'm a full-time RVer, which means I live in my travel trailer. Our travel trailer is a fifth wheel toy hauler. We had some neighbors move in for the weekend. You can tell they're weekend warriors. And I swear, they have loud voices. So one folio, two folio. I have to be careful because of my trimmers. I have to be careful with these older pages to make sure I don't shake so much that I rip the paper, which can be a bit of a challenge sometimes. But some of us have arthritis when we're crafting. and other aches and pains that make it a challenge. But that's life. I think that was the last. Nope. Looks like there's one more. And the last one is typically glued in. So I think I'm done pulling folio from this. Okay, so technically I pulled 1, 2, 3. So this was page 483, 484, 485, 486, 487, 488, 489, 490, 491, and 492, and 493, and 494. So this is one signature, one signature, 1, 2, 3 folios, and so 3 times 4 is 12 pages. And that's how a book is put together, and that's how a junk journal is put together. And I like to carefully pull out these pages like this, so that when I build a journal, whoops, see, is this, I think this is put together. This was actually done with a magazine. Yeah, this was done with a magazine that was stapled together. So then I could take a journal like this and I could insert more pages like this or like this. And then cut it down so that it fits. And sew that in there with a 3-hole stitch or 5-hole stitch or whatever is your preference. My preference is a 3-hole stitch. But everybody has their own way of junk journaling, and there are no rules. You can use trash, you can use vintage stuff, you can use new stuff. Like this right here. It's not made with any trash at all. That's tea-dyed paper, purchased from an Etsy shop. This is ledger paper, which you might consider that trash or recycling. This is a digital. This is more ledger paper or graph paper. It's accounting page is what it is. Old book page, digital. Old book page, digital. Whatever is your preference. Whatever floats your boat. Let's do another one. I just keep turning the pages until I find string. Right there. There's string. See if I can bring that closer so you can see it. So there's a string here, a string here, a string here, string here, and a string here. Thread, string, whatever you want to call it. Sometimes I'll use my Fisker shears. Sometimes I'll use what do you call this? A hem? Oh. What's this? Seam ripper. Whew. Came to me. I don't always use these kind of tools, so the the name is not always prevalent in my mind. I have to be careful because I almost poked my finger on that. But see how much damage I'm doing to the page trying to use this thing? I'm poking all these little holes in there. Sometimes I might use little scissors just so that I can grab hold of it, pull it up, and then cut and not do damage to a page. Now, maybe you have to use a seam ripper and it's going to cause a little damage to a page. I would not worry about it. First of all, you're going to get 3 or 4 pages out, and the pages down here aren't going to have any damage to them as long as you pull slow enough. 2, 3, starting to pull a little bit, starting to resist a little bit. So I just slow down, maybe wiggle a little bit. 4. Okay, that didn't allow me to wiggle or anything. So sometimes I'll take my nail and try to push this down. Or I'll see if I can find something else to cut. There we go. I got 4 signatures on that one. Very rarely do I ever see any bugs in books. I don't know where that came from. I guess because I saw this little piece of brown from the cover. I think I've seen a dead bug or 2, but I'm not positive. Don't hold me to it. I have seen pages that are worm eaten. And right now, I would really love to put the diffuser on because my room smells a little moldy from this book. However, I'm not worried about it because the book looks in really good condition. So instead of saying moldy, maybe it's just an old smell. I'm not a professional about that sort of thing, so I can't tell you for sure. It's not a pleasant smell, but it doesn't offend me or prevent me from doing this because it's an old, to me it's an old smell. So maybe I should say mildew instead of mold. I don't know. What else should I say about this? Sometimes you can just pull on the strings and they'll pop. Maybe you might have some tweezers. Maybe you might try taking the book and folding it this way to push those strings out. So let me know in the comments if you're familiar with this process, if it's the way that you do it, or if you have any questions, please feel free to ask any questions in the comments. I'm currently in Poulsbo, and I don't say it very well, that's my Ohio accent, Washington. And it's more of a speech impediment, so I always call it my Ohio accent. Blame it on Ohio. But anyways, that's where I'm currently at. We're here for a month because it's a place that's very close to my husband's family, which is extensive. There are a lot of people in his family. And he gets to see them and spend quality time with them. I only pulled about 2 pages out of there. Gets to a point where I'm fighting it, so I stop and go to another signature, because when you get to a certain part of the book, the strings are embedded more into the book, and you can see where the pages are kind of buckling, for lack of a better idea of a word to describe that. And it gets more complicated to pull them out. Let's see if I can find something that's easier. Oh wait, I was supposed to go 1 more page. That's what the problem was. Well, that one came out really easy. That one I had to pull. I keep putting gouges in my paper. I'm trying not to do that. But I just thought if I did a video showing this process, showing the challenges that I'm going through, that it might be helpful to somebody who's never done it before, or maybe is new to doing it, and will be encouraged to see different ideas on how to get these pages out. And like I said, I like to get the full folio out so that I can use this in a journal, and this will be turned into a new signature. Now, when the journal is too small for something like that, then yes, that's when it's better to take it and fold it like this. For me, it's not a problem when the text is going this way, or if your journal is real small, or say you're doing a traveler's journal, then you could fold it this way. And even though the traveler's journal might be, say, maybe it's like this, and this page would be that small, that's okay. A lot of people like journals that have different sizes of pages. Like, some might be this width, some might be that width, some might be this long, some might be this long, all depending on what your cover size is. That's the only thing that really determines the size of your pages. So how's everybody doing today? Where are you tuning in from? I'm doing really well. My hubby's a little bit under the weather because he went to help his sister out for a party that we're going to on Saturday. The twins are turning 2. Woohoo! They're little cuties. And he went to help his sister to set things up for the party on Saturday. And then somebody started doing yard work, and it really flared up his allergies. Now sometimes I will take the cover off first and just have the innards of the book so that I'm not rough on the cover. So to do that, let's see what we got here. Kind of hesitant to do that because I want to keep these end pages intact. Let's see if I can come up with a plan. See, like this is really bent over. And I'm going to have to manhandle it a bit. Okay. There's no thread there. This is glued. I can tell this is glued right here. So I'm going to avoid that. Maybe not. Maybe I'm going to try and tear that away. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So then you might want something like an X-Acto knife. Remember, I'm trying to keep those end pages intact with the cover. Okay, that's the plan. Now the cover is pulling away. I always wonder if I'm going to find some little bug in here when I do this. That's just a flake. Okay, let's do that on the other side. I love this kind of thing right here. It's kind of like vellum, tissue paper, and then of course we've got the beautiful published by the authority of Congress 1900, and then this says copyright 1897, but I guess this book was published in 1900. Okay, let's manhandle this a little bit. Bone folder is a good tool to use for this sort of thing. I can hear the threads tearing. What do we got here? Just not sure yet where I want to pull this at. Where I want to disconnect it. I think right here. So this stuff stayed in. I really don't need this page. I don't need any of these pages. Can I carry those out without? Nope. This is attached here. This is attached here. You just got to play with it a little bit and figure out what you want to happen. I really didn't want this page, but if it's holding this page in, then I would be okay with it staying there because I want these 2 pages. I will tell you that if I would have had this torn apart last week, I most likely would have used this book for my Raggedy Turtle Bloom journal. But I had been procrastinating getting the journal or the cover part started because I hadn't decided on a cover. So finally I just said, okay, just do something. We need to get this journal started. And so I did a chipboard cover. Okay, now the moment of truth. Did this stay intact? It did. It's all intact. Kind of looks like a bug, but it's just old leather or old cardboard. Am I a little bug shy? Mm-hmm. Yep, I am. Okay, this is cool. Yeah, this stuff is cool. I wanted to keep this intact, and I didn't. What did I keep intact? Anything? This and this. Okay, well, that's what we have. Don't breathe in when you're blowing, because then you'll suck it in, Theresa. That wouldn't be good. All right, so this is having a little bit of wear. I might Mod Podge this to seal this in, and so that it doesn't deteriorate any further. But I just love this cover to pieces. Very happy to have that in my arsenal of crafting supplies. So when I use that, that will be, oh goodness, what will that be? That will be a two and a half inch binding. Pretty much a 2.5 inch. So when I cut because I'll do a hidden spine at whatever point it is that I decide to use this, I'll do a hidden spine because that's what I like to do. I'll use some cardstock and I'll cut it down to 2.5 inches, and then I'll glue a piece in here initially to secure this, to strengthen it, and then I'll cut another piece to do my hidden binding with, and this will be a beautiful journal. So this is just going to go in a pile, and I'm not going to mess with it until I'm ready to do something with it. At which time I might pull this off and use this as a page in a journal. I might use the whole bit. I really don't need this with that. So is this going to be a folio, or is this going to be, kind of is a folio. No, it's glued together, so I'll pull it apart. There. And I'll probably cut that rough edge off. Okay. This is a little thicker than this paper. Ooh, this would be great writing space. So I think what I would do with this is I would have, like, say, okay, say I would have a journal page. Okay, and we're going to pretend that this is built into a journal in a signature. And so I would take one page of this and I would make this a flip. If I can get my hands to cooperate with me. And I would take this and I would trim this off. And then I would glue it to here. And then this would probably be like some fun digital page. And so I would take this and I would glue it on this side and on this side, and then there would be a tuck here. So I actually don't like making flips that are that narrow. So I would make a flip more like this, and then put glue there and glue there so that there would be a tuck spot here. And then you'd have this page. And in the journal, like if I used this, then the pages would be big enough. Yeah, there's a lot of planning to go into this for thinking. So pages like this would be perfect. Something like this, not so perfect. So then what I might do is, if I've got 8.5 by 11 papers, I'd do a lot of flips. So I might fold them like this, and then do a pocket or trim it down here. So it would fit, and then I could take another paper and I could glue it onto there. Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. I hope that made sense. So, lots of things to do for prep work that go into making a journal. One of the most important things, if you're using vintage book papers, is tearing apart those books. And some of those books have some awesome pictures. They have some awesome papers in them. This I'm just gonna, don't want to mess any of this up. I think this is just glued in here. Okay, so now that I've got the cover off, okay, it's split up here, so I'm going to be okay with it being split here. So I'm just going to lightly, I cut the other page, I didn't want to. Okay, salvage that. I should have pulled because I accidentally cut into this, but not too bad. I can't really see it. So some pages you will just want to pull and tear. And then when it's ready to start going back to doing signatures, it kind of will, the book will talk to you. That's my story, I'm sticking to it. So that didn't stay together really, but that kind of stayed together. Now that actually is glued. There was a string there though. I'm going to leave that alone. This is cool. Love that. Ooh, love that. Let's try the, ooh, look at that cool picture. Okay, that broke out on its own. As you can see, now I'm getting a little impatient. So sometimes I might just stop what I'm doing, get up, walk around, so that I'll go back to being more careful. I'm getting a little frustrated with my tremors right now too. So somebody that's different than me could probably go faster because you don't have to go slow because you have a hand that shakes. So don't watch me and think, oh my gosh, I don't have that kind of time. It does take time, but it might not take you as much time if you don't have tremors as it takes me to do a good job. To do a job where you're not tearing your paper is what I define by doing a good job. Now, if you do, strictly smaller journals, then just taking the pages and ripping them out might be just fine for you. And then you'll just fold everything in half or something. But I like to do it this way so that I'm prepared for whatever it is I want to do when I go to put a journal together. And as you go, it starts to get easier to take it apart, because you're taking some of that pressure off of the other pages. Now this one is glued in. Whoops. Tore that page. This one is glued in. Maybe I grabbed too many. See, and that's why I don't like to rip them out, because I don't rip straight. Of course, then when you've got yucky pieces, like none of this is yucky pieces, but you could even use this for collage and purposely tear it up into small pieces. I don't want that. Why am I grabbing that? I want this or that. I think I want this. And that all came out nice. I'm not going to try and break it up right now. There we go. So I think you get the gist of it. Like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. And I just want to thank you for taking time to watch this video. And I hope that you'll join me in another video. And anytime you want to say hi, please feel free to say hi. And I hope to see you again.